Hello everyone. So let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. Can you hear me? See me? Please let me know in the chat. Can we hear and see well? So we'll try. Okay, I see that we have some confirmation here. That is good. That is good. Nice to see also Zaf and Everts and others. Really good. Okay. Yep. So I'm thinking how to better structure today. I think let's start by doing new things today with the template that I just shared to you. So in the chat you see that I shared the template. So maybe if you could download that and made it ready for work. So just to remind you again how to do this. So you download the template, then you go to the WebStorm. In the WebStorm, you just open this one HTML file, and then you have these kind of let me share that these menus up here on the right top corner, right? And with these you can open directly in the browser the project. So if I press it like that, it opens it here and it runs the game, and then I can press inspect here, and then I can access console and debugging panel. So that's one. The other way is to just press this bug here, make sure that you're selected the correct file, and then press the bug, and then you can actually put breakpoints inside the code, which is even more important. So yeah, so please do that. We'll actually jump into the Jamboard. So is template ready to work? So at the end of this session, I hope that we will have a little bit of time to look at the submitted homeworks, and I will definitely respond to all the questions that I got to the messaging regarding the homeworks. It's just that we really didn't have time to do that, unfortunately. So, but I will do that. So that's one. So the question in the chat is then, are you ready to work? Plus minus. If there is any problem, then let me know. Yeah, so I see already one plus here. Yep, so the template is actually my kind of like way of completing the game. You know, it will be really fun to see how you completed the game. So I completed the game in one way, and this is the way how I did it. And just wanted to today to do some additional things here. So I will actually make it this as a separate file. So the plan is that we will add the scoreboard today, and then next week we will try to connect that with the backend server. And then it will be really fun in like in few sessions down the road, we could like play with the same backend server like on different platforms, right? We already have the Python platform. Now this is a JavaScript platform, right? So okay, so I see the template is ready. Okay, let's demonstrate a little bit the template and explain few changes that I did there. Okay, so let's see. So this is, I guess, the output. So if now the game is lost because I lost my last lives, and it just showed me the screen. So now, even if maybe I can zoom in. Oh man, I don't want to lose before. Okay, so yeah, so the aliens are attacking me, and I can shoot back with an interval of 1 second. I cannot shoot sooner than 1 second, so I just pressing a lot of times my spacebar, and this is becoming really hard to not lose. Oh no. Okay, so and then I can get the score if I hit the aliens, which is interesting because I hit 2 of them and I got only, I don't know, maybe there's some kind of bug because I no, but I get the score. So I probably will win this game, hopefully. So the score is now 6. Oh, no. Okay, so I have only the one alien left. So, and the aliens start to fly faster and shoot more when the game is closing to the end. Oh, it's super hard to hit him. Okay. Oh no! Okay, that's not expected that this will be that hard. Yes, I won it. So it says that game is won. So just to show the full screen, it looks like that. I got this small message, game is won. So this is what we have here. And the way how this works is that so you see here in the header we have two div elements of the HTML. So in one element I update the score in this part, and then the other one I'm adding the pictures of lives. So if I go down here, look where it is, I select with the Jquery two elements here, two objects. This object is then editable from Jquery functions, right? And I'm just setting HTML, the contents of it, using the string of score and then string of these guys based on the lives. So on the, of course, HTML, this function could also feed other HTML content here, and it would also work. So that's one change, I think. Then I also made some changes here. So detected if all aliens are dead, then we are winning, right? Then also here with the collisions, so the collisions, I also added a new function called contains type. So I didn't want to make huge if statements like if that, or that, if that, or that, and stuff like that. So then I just made this one helper function. If any of those two elements are from the some type, element type, like in this case, if I go back here, then if any of two elements is rocket or any of two elements is alien, that means that we hit the alien and we increase the score. So and then if any of those two elements is player, then in that case something hit the player, so we reduce the lives, and if the lives are not 0, then we're removing also the rocket here. So that's good. And then we're adding the explosion in case the collision actually happens with something that you can't collide. And with the score, so the last one, actually it's not mentioned here, which maybe is not that good. So minus points. Okay, maybe we should actually add that, because otherwise, so if you could add here, if contains type wall, then we reduce score by 1. So if it hit the wall with something, so either the alien hits the wall or rocket hits the wall, so this part would be desirable. So I will add this also to the Jamboard just in a second. This small piece of code. Yeah, so I just realized that would be useful. Probably. So this will go into Jamboard slide number 2. By the way, if any of the code right now is not clear, then please definitely either share some screenshot, paste bin, or questions. So I'm just trying to go over some parts that I changed. So this is the same, this is about the same. I changed a little bit the number of aliens to make it not so difficult, but you can add more if you want. So in the game, there is the score and lives, explosion, rocket, then we have the alien. In the alien, I added new stuff here, shoot intervals seconds. So the shoot intervals by default is every 3 to 4 seconds, because there is a random, and random gives 0 to 1. So always this function, random, will give output from 0 to 1, right? Oh, sorry, the commenter is like that. Yeah. And then every time when we change direction, which means that we reach the end of the wall, right? The end of the side of the screen, then we move down the alien for 0.5 units. So previously it was moved the whole unit, 1. So I decided to make it a little bit slower, so 0.5 units. And also increase the difficulty by decreasing the intervals at which they shoot, and also increasing the speed of the aliens here. So those were the two kind of changes that I made here. And what about else? I think maybe the collisions I also improved. So previously we were just checking rounded positions when the collisions overlap. Now I'm checking this with some kind of tolerance interval. So I mean, if two boxes overlap by this amount, 0.5, then in that case I detect a collision, because otherwise sometimes there was situations when there was not really a full collision and it kind of detected collision, and I didn't want to do that. So that's that part. Then drawing part is the same. The other parts are exactly the same, only those few things. So let me ask a question in the chat. So is code clear so far, plus, minus? If something is not clear, please give me the line number or any kind of reference to the code so I can try to explain. So I'll wait some answers in the chat. Meanwhile, we'll try to open some of the materials which I wanted to cover. And of course, till the next time, there would be great if you add something even more to this. I mean, like, you could add for example, the spaceship in the bottom, like, I mean, not this, what's this, the small alien ship on the top part of the game. That's like bonus, right? You could add the bonus ship. That would be excellent. So it seems like that you understand this, so I really hope you do, but of course we'll look at the homeworks later if we have time. Hopefully we'll have time today. If not, then I will definitely explain personally. So great, I see the question. Can you explain how do you avoid destroying aliens by the upper aliens? Okay, good. So I think there are a few things there. So one thing is that all of the aliens are created at the same moment. So that's actually not a bad question, but so basically you see in these lines from 420 till 427, all of the aliens are created at this exactly same moment. So that means that they all have positions where they do not overlap with each other. So that's point number one. Then point number two, they all move with the same exact speed. Every time when you change direction to the aliens, we set exactly the same speed. There is no randomness around here. So there is no random speed. There is the randomness only comes with the reset patience, which is how often do they shoot. And there is also a small code that do not allow to shoot alien which is not at the bottom row, which is here. So is lowest row of aliens. So this is the code that checks that part. Just a second. And then the last piece of puzzle to make sure that they do not run into each other is that after they reach the end of the wall, I always add this small piece of line, which was not previously added. This is num.js rounded positions, which means that even though if they slowly misalign with each other, which could happen without this line during the game, then they are now aligned again in a perfect pattern. So so basically they reach the end of the game, right? I mean the end of the row. Then they move down, then they change direction, and they all positions are rounded with the exact numbers. So that means that they have enough time that hopefully they will not there will be not so many deviations till the next change of direction. So basically, it is possible that the aliens could run to each other if the code would be a little bit different, but now the code is pretty stable, so they don't run to each other. So is it clear? Okay, good, thank you for the confirmation. So that's one. Then also, I really like that you asked some questions so that then I can actually go over code a little bit more. So here you see on the upper part, what last time I already added this, but we didn't use it, is that I added a library called JS cookie. By the way, let's go over all of our libraries. So the simple JavaScript just don't have any libraries there, but then we add these lines, which include some of the libraries on the cloud, but we could also copy these files just by our HTML file and include them directly from our directory, not from the cloud directory. So the libraries can be located at any place where we want, right? So they are just JavaScript files. So here is the Jquery. So Jquery is the kind of most important library for front-end development for the HTML, CSS, JavaScript type of environments. It means that with this library, which is normally used with the $, right, with this kind of notation, and then inside that $, of course, I cannot just write it anywhere. I need to write it in the script tags, right? So, and then inside those $ notations, I give the Css Selector, and Css Selector means that I want to select some kind of logic which is in this format as in the text CSS. For example, here we have ID, which is hashtag. The CSS syntax means that hashtag means ID. So then we select scene. If we want to select class, then we use dot element, dot alien and stuff. And the class is absolutely not the same class as JavaScript class. This is totally different stuff. This is CSS styling, right? And in this kind of exact manner, we select those elements and then we can interact with them. So we have this variable which we can store in some pointer, like let j something. So I'm just going over a few things that we already did. So something, and then we can like manipulate it, right? We can change the actual CSS values there. We can change like color, all sorts of stuff what we want. So like, for example, I don't know, like color to red, if this would be a text or something like that. So, and we can move it, we can add it, we can like basically modify everything based on using Jquery. So that is Jquery. Then Lodash. Lodash is also super useful library. So you can find it in our code here where there is the underscore and there is the underscore dot pool. I think there is some, okay, this is only part where we have it, but this is also very useful. So the normal JavaScript do not have function to easily remove elements from the array. Now we are removing element from the array just with this pool function and returning array without those elements. So there are a lot of really useful functions inside Lodash. Lodash is just the missing link between kind of what is not included originally in JavaScript, but should be included, you know, like all sorts of array manipulations, string manipulations, and all sorts of those things. Then num.js. Num.js is here used with nj something array. So this is a mathematical library. If you followed my tutorials with the Python, so you know that there is the NumPy library with the mathematical library for Python NumPy, right? So here this is exactly kind of the same for the JavaScript, not as easy to use as Python version, but still useful, especially if you would work with matrices. So that's one thing. And then the new thing here is a cookie. So today I want to store our scores that we will generate using our game inside the cookie, and the cookie then basically will hold the serialized JavaScript object. Remember that again, nothing happens magically by itself. If I create some kind of structure that holds the scores, it will not be just serialized automatically to some kind of format where I can save it. I need to do this quite manually, and this is true for all of the languages. So that is that part. Okay, so this is the cookie. So let's, before cookie, I think let's do a few things to make that there is an interface where we can actually submit the scores and visualize the scores, right? So let's do that part. So to make the interface easier to develop, so we don't like have aliens running in the background, let's set this is game running to false here. So is game running false. I will drop this also to the Jamboard. And this is just a temporary code, of course. We will remove that later. It's just to make sure that there is not things flying around while we are doing code on something else. So temporary code. So I will copy this and put it this line on Jamboard so you can find where to change it. Okay, so that is changed, and if I then press that small button to run it in the browser, I hope, oh no, why it's not affecting something. So I said game running is game running false. Why it did not stop? Is game running false. False, is game running, main loop. So it should work. I don't know what's happening here. Let me see. Yeah, no, it works. I didn't know what happened, but it works. So anyway, so it looks like that, and everything is freezed here. So everything is freezed, but the game is there. So that is good. So we just froze the game in order to make the user interface for the scores, right? So then let's start by building the scores. So here there is the scene. So we could add here some additional element that will hold the score kind of interface. It will be really small probably. So let's see. So here will be div ID overlay. So let's make some opacity overlay over the game when the game ends. Okay. So this will be the ID overlay, and then inside that part we will have the actual form where we can submit the score. So there will be the form. The form element is super important inside HTML, because form element also have things like action, which mean we don't write action now, but basically what it means is that we can enter here in the action some kind of HTTP, some kind of server where we want to send the contents of this form when it's submitted. Right now we will not send the contents of the form to somewhere. Actually, we can even leave it as that, because we will catch it and not allow to send it. There's also option how to send it, either as a post or get. So this is something that we will do later, but now it's like that. So there will be a form. Then let's add some other things here. So one thing will be here so the input type text. So there are few fields which are super important in HTML that are like input type fields that are always living inside the forms. So those fields, then what it means is that we can like aggregate values and easily post them with a special HTTP method called post to send them to the server in a very specific format. And we don't need to actually then worry about that format. We just need to formulate very correctly this HTML script. So there is a type here. Then this will be text type of field. Then also we need to define name. So the name is something that also will go to the server. So this will be player name. By default, nothing will now go to the server, because today we will not work with the server side, but basically this is the structure how to form the forms so that we could send it to the server as well. So by the way, we already made the Python type of app, so you know that there is a possibility to make something that would work on the server. And also notice that I added here at the end this kind of syntax. It means that basically what it means is that that this is a valid XML type of syntax. In HTML, sometimes, actually not sometimes, but often you can live without these kind of very specific HTML type of syntaxes. So if I have element which do not have two sides like start and end, right? Then I need to add at the end something like this. If I have element with the ending, with the start and end, then I don't need this kind of syntax at the end. So this will be a player name. Then we need to add some more information. So let's add here then the span. So the span will be here something, score, your score, and then we can add here again span, and this will be then ID. So there was the header span score, and this will be then, actually we could use the same logic twice, except then we don't need to call it as an ID, but let's use the span. This is a good example where if something repeats, then maybe we should not use it as ID. See, both of them become red because they are both ID, and ID cannot repeat many times. So what can repeat many times is class. So I can add class here, and also here class, and then I will also need to change the code in the line where I use span score, because in the line where I use span score right now, so this will be a comment here. So in line where I use span score, I use something like this now. But if I change it to the class, then I need to use something like this with a dot, right? So then there is no error because it can be repeated many times. And by default it will be 0, but every time when I will update HTML for this span score syntax here, which I will change later, it will automatically update both of them because both of them have the same class. And I select Jquery here with the $sign down below in the code, which I don't show now. This kind of syntax, dot span score, it means that select element which is class with the name dot with the name span score. The dot means class. So that is that part. Then at the end, just to make sure that we don't need to spend too much time on styling, we could add here break. So this means a new line in the HTML. Then we could add span and define here your name like that, and add here again break. Finally, add here also break. And finally, we need a button, right? So input type submit. So this means the button with which we want to submit the score. And here we can set also value, and value will be submit. And if we would like to have some kind of default name, we could also set value for the player name. But we don't need that now. So the output will not look great right now, but we will make it, we will add styles. So, okay, let me actually show you how the output will look like. So actually, first of all, I will copy this to the Jamboard so you can follow up with this code. And then I will show you how it looks now before styling. Okay, something is lagging for me on the computer. File, close all. So this will be on the slide number 3. Oh man. Okay, something is uploading there. I don't think that is the correct thing there. So, okay, this will be correct. Okay. So this is uploading, and this is how it looks like. it's not styled, right? They just added HTML elements, but they are not properly visually manufactured, right? They are just like added whatever the style that is available at the moment there. So default styles, right? So just to make it a little bit more beautiful and useful, I will try to improve that. So I added this part to the Jamboard already. Maybe let's before moving on, let's wait for you to catch up. So is the form HTML ready? If you're ready, then type in plus. If something is not right, then also let me know. Okay, I see that you're ready. Okay, that's good. So then we can move up here in the style part, right, where we define styles. We also could, if we want, to define styles directly here inside this kind of syntax. I don't remember if I actually showed you this syntax, but we could define it like this. But this would not be good at all. Please never try to do that. So if you would try to do this in this way, it will be very hard to later to change things because you will need to change this in like 100 places. So it's much smarter to try to reuse as many styles as you can. Of course, sometimes it's very difficult because the designers think really interesting designs and then they are not really that well thought over the whole system itself. So here the overlay, so the overlay. So let's call it then position relative. So this means that the element inside the absolute position will be floatable somewhere around, right? So then we will also define that this will be width 100% of the top element, which in this case is that scene, right? Height 100%. So that's about that part. Then also we could define that background color is some kind of, let's say, gray. Then also we could define that the z index, which means that this is which one in the order is it. So this could be, I don't know, like minus 1,000. Oh no, not. I mean 1,000. Yeah, so this will be in front of everything, hopefully. So that part then also, so z-index means that if I have some kind of relative elements inside the absolute element or absolute elements just as absolute elements. So if I have two elements and they are overlapping with each other, then which one is in the background and which one is in the front. So the larger z-index means that this will be more in front. So in this case, this will be always in front. Otherwise, they are just ordered by the way how they are added to the HTML. Because the aliens are added later, they will be in front of this thing. So that's why we are using z-index. So that's part. Then lastly, we can use the opacity to make this a little bit opaque. Or maybe this will not be good because it will just make everything transparent, including the form itself. So maybe the background should be then a little bit transparent. So we could try to do that. So there is let's say, so I don't know, like CC. This will be gray, I hope. Something is not right. Okay, background color. Okay, this is not that good. Let's see. So let's say 777. Okay, this seems good. So then we need to repeat it. So there is a 777, and then the alpha channel, or maybe let's see if it will work like that. So I don't remember how they updated. Yeah, so the alpha channel is the last one. So this is then from but the alpha channel, yeah, it works. So these two last letters represent the alpha channel. So FF means it's fully not transparent, and then anything below that means that it's a little bit transparent. So I think so. Let's also change this to the 3. So now I think the color will be nice. Yeah. So if I now show you how the output looks like, it's like this, where it's a little bit transparent, and then all of the other parts are here. So that's good. The one thing that I also would like to do is that there is some kind of padding around the form itself. So let's see what we can do with that. So padding, let's add here, there, I don't know, like 30 pixel padding. Let's see what happens with this. Except then there will be a little problem. Okay, and then let's not do this here, but leave it as that. So that is great. Then the other part is with the form. So we can style even more the form. So we can write the CSS selector. So this CSS selector, which I'm right now writing, is exactly the same way how you would write it in Jquery. So in Jquery, if you want to access any element in HTML contents, the tree of all of these nice elements here, you would write in this manner. So then if I have overlay, and then I want to select the inside overlay form element, I could have this kind of syntax, form. So this means that please select in overlay element, just in this overlay element, the first form you find. I mean, not the first, but all forms you find in this kind of first level in the form. So if I would write here, basically just to show you the difference. So if I would write here the input, this would not work. But if I would remove this thing, then this would work again. Because this syntax means find input below overlay at any level. This means find form under overlay at first level. So there are a lot of really interesting syntaxes which you need to discover yourself as well, which are called CSS selectors. CSS selectors. You definitely need to learn about how to do them correctly. So basically, if I do not add in front of this name dot, I do not add dot here, I do not add hashtag here, then it means that this name represents the tag name. So tag form, tag span, and so on. If I add in front any of those symbols, that means that it's either ID or name or something else. So hopefully that's clear. So here the form. So with form we can add some padding. So padding 30 pixels. So we are adding the padding now. So that's good. Then what we else could do, the input. So for the inputs we could add also some kind of padding maybe. Or margin top 10 pixels. Let's see how that looks like. So hopefully that is also looking good. Then what else we can do? Maybe I can show you how to select the player name itself. So if I have some element here, player name, and I want to add some style specifically to the player name, so overlay, yeah, so let's start with player name. So overlay, input, anything, we could also write it like this, form, input. This is exactly, basically the same thing will happen. And then here will be this, again, new syntax, name, player name. So this is, again, a very interesting syntax, very useful syntax. So this syntax means that with these square brackets is that I want to select some kind of attribute inside that element. Basically, this is like the same thing as with so if I would write something like this, which I would not recommend at all to write it like this, but you could write ID like that, select some element by ID overlay. This is exactly the same thing as hashtag overlay. So it's just different ways of writing it. So again, just saying that you need to learn about CSS selectors more. So there is these hashtags, and this hashtags but squared brackets, which means that select attribute type element which has attribute name, and this attribute name is player name. So, and if we select that kind of element, then we could modify it a little bit. So let me think what we could modify there. Oh no. When I'm entering stuff there, nothing appears. So I need to look and think what we could modify there. Just a second, I'll let you catch up. Meanwhile, while I'm checking why the box that do not work. Okay. I know why it doesn't work, because I disabled the keyboard. Okay, so well, that's not too bad. So anyway, we need to enable keyboard so we can enter the player name. So that would be really useful. So. Okay, let's then, we can maybe remove the margin for this element, so there would be some logic that basically that your name do not have margin and this part do have margin. So basically we can add it like that. So I think that's about it, what we need here. So I will drop this also to the Jamboard. So these selectors for CSS styles here. Just a second. So that is on the Jamboard as well now. Okay. So that we have. Then let's resolve some problem with the keyboard, because now when I press any letter, it's not appearing in the text box. So where is the keyboard? So key down, event pinned here. Prevent default. This is really interesting. So let's check out. So basically, event prevent default means that please ignore any keystrokes that we make. But we don't want to ignore keystrokes that are happening inside the player name text box. So what instead we can do is we could explore what is the target name for that text box. So console log the event. So let's check what is inside that event, and I will show you how to do that. So if I go down here, so there is a console, and now if I click in here and I write E, so you see it's catching my events and canceling them. So and if I look inside this event, I see what I see here is that target the document. I know one way how to make it. Okay, there is target input. Okay, so that's good. Target input. And so we could play around with this. Target input, how we could identify that that's the input what we want. Player name. There should be name attribute there. Okay, I know how to do this then, hopefully. Okay, so yeah, so let's move here. First of all, the easiest hack would be just to add here if, so game state instance is running, then we want to cancel. If it's not running, then we don't want to cancel. But otherwise, I will not do this now, but basically you could also do the event, the target, and then detect if event target equals to some kind of input. So basically you could do something like this, and then check if the, let's say, if this type is actually input type, then you could not prevent it. So. But now, for our purposes, the game running will be sufficient. So yeah, so now it's working. So I will add this also to the Jamboard. So adding this to the Jamboard. Cannot see code. Okay, thank you. So here I added just very easy hack here. I added if the game is running, then we prevent anything happening. You could also write event target, and then you can check if this target is a type of instance of input. And then if it's an instance of input, then we also could not prevent the default, right? So, but now this is the easiest hack. So let's work with the easiest way. Okay, again, my screenshot did not appear. Okay, so now I'm adding this to the slide number 4. That's great. So we are able to enter the stuff there in that game, in that scoreboard, right? So that's one thing. Then next thing is that we need to catch actually when the user presses the submit button, because now if I don't catch the submit button, it will go to that dummy server which does not exist actually, and it will just crash, right? So the way how to do this is then to select it with the CSS selector again. So we can use the overlay again, probably overlay, and then inside the overlay we know that we have form, right? There is actually even more types of CSS selectors, so I will introduce one more to you. So Jquery CSS first element. There is the first element and so on. Yeah, so first. So you could even write it like this, first. So this means that it will not apply to all forms, just the first form that we discover. Of course, right now we have only one form, so this doesn't mean anything. But if we would have 2 forms, then this kind of function will just work for the first form. So that's why it's very useful. So let's keep writing. So then submit. Here we have again arrow function. And here let's write then the event. submit. Hopefully this is okay. I'm not sure. I hope this is okay. So then event, this means that I want to prevent default, which means that I don't want to send it to server now. Prevent default the same way as in that previous code. So that is the form. Then what instead I want to do, maybe I want to print in console log the output of what is entered inside the player name, right? So let's try that. So let's write then let j player name, which is then selected from. So this is selected from overlay input some kind of name player. Of course, you could write like add some classes, IDs, and everything will be less code, right? But I just want to show you these ways. So then j player name here val. This means the value of that field, and it should then be presented on the console, hopefully. So yeah, it works. So let me know in the chat. Okay, I see also some of the questions in the chat. Overlay form first. Overlay form are the same. No, they are not the same. So they will have the same effect for this kind of code, but they are definitely not the same. So if I would have in that overlay element 2 forms, like one form for submitting the score, another form for informing that there is a bug in the game, right? Then in that case, if I would use it without first, like that, this piece of code will execute for both of the forms. If I add first, then it means that it will execute only the first form. Of course, normally, when you do the code, you should never have that kind of unstable code. You should have the IDs added to the form. Like we have the ID for overlay, we should add ID for form submitting score and ID for form submitting bug, right? So is it clear? Hopefully it's clear. So yes, thanks. Thank you in the chat. So that's a good question. So are you done so far? So I will add also this part to the Jamboard. Okay, it's really strange that I cannot normally copy this stuff. Okay, now I add it to the Jamboard. Okay, I see that we are done, so that's good. So we have the player name, so we could actually write it. And by the way, there are a few things you should notice. So string player. Oh, I don't like that I wrote it in the camel case. Sorry. So I usually like to write in camel case only class names, but then all other variable names should or function names should be with small letters, which are less prone to the error. So anyways, yeah. So that was my fault. So player name. So this will be then the player name. Probably because of that J thing. That's why I'm using it as a camel case. Anyway, so player name. Then for the player name also we should call, if this is a string, right? So for the strings we definitely always need to call strip function. I think it was like that. Let me check in JavaScript. JavaScript strip. Yes, so this means this strip function means that remove white spaces around text. So I know sometimes new developers forget to do this, but this is very important. And also all sorts of other validations for the forms, very important, because users write inside the forms all sorts of crazy stuff, and then the code can break down if you don't think really carefully about that. So that's one. Then the other thing will be the score. So score, which we can get from game instance score here. So we have two elements like these. Then we can start using the cookie stuff. So let's create some kind of cookie here. So there should be cookies. So let me check if I have it here. Yes, I have it. So there is a function called cookies. So we could even write it here and probably in some global state just to check it initially. To get all of the variables, we would then call it like that. So just a second, I will fix a few things. Okay, I hope this will work. Okay, cool, it works. So let's write it here. So constant, this will be a cookie, this will be cookie high scores. And cookies are things that live even if I refresh the browser, or even if I go to this same page or same host next week. If I set the cookie lifetime long enough, it will be there also in the next week. So basically that's why it's very nice to use it for high scores or for some kind of like user information, so that they don't need to log in again in the service and stuff like that. So there is a cookie high scores. So this will be, let's check if we have that kind of element. So if cookie high scores in, so this is a string, right? So this is just a very basic string. So cookies. So this cookies class, static class is coming from that include, which I have on the top part of the page, right? So, and if this is not there, so if I say that there is a like this exclamation mark in front, which means that the cookie do not exist. So then I want to add that cookie. So then instead I would like to do the cookies set, and then to set cookies I need to set things which are easily serializable. But I think the yeah, this library serializes cookies themselves, so that's why it's nice. So we can add here the just list like that, I think. So if the cookie do not exist, then I create a new list of cookies here. So that's great. So then the next part is I want to get that cookie here. So there will be the let high scores. So this will be by default empty list, right? By default, this is empty list high scores. So I'm getting it here. By the way, I should probably set it to some, okay, let's set it later. So some expiration date, right? So the expiration date might also be useful. By the way, I also just realized that it's actually not that smart. Okay, so that's great. Actually, it's really better that it's not that smart. So the cookies cannot be, cookies can be only strings, they cannot be objects. So we need to serialize it. The easiest way to serialize it using JSON, stringify, and then here we drop in some kind of value. So just to make it even more clear what I'm doing here, I will just make an additional variable here, which is high scores, which is empty, and then I serialize it, and then I will make it in a separate step like this. Let string high scores, or basically JSON high scores is this thing, and then I store this string as a cookie. So I can store strings as a cookie, so like that. So that's good. And then here I get back the JSON high scores, which I then need to serialize back. So let high scores is the JSON parse of the JSON high scores, like that. Now I get the list again, like that. And then I can add this score to the list, right? So I can add here append, push. So because this is a list, I can add here the basically the player name. And the score, like that. And finally, after like adding it here, I can serialize it back. Of course, there are a few things missing here, like sorting scores. So what is missing here is sorting scores. Then also avoiding adding same player twice. So we could maybe add same player twice. I don't know. Maybe that's not a huge issue, you know. Maybe, you know, like in the arcade games, there's always one player who have the most high scores, right? So then high score JSON, we can get it back by JSON stringify high scores. And then we want to store the cookie. So to store the cookie, again, we can use the same logic as this. Only the one thing that I would prefer is to add also some additional information, like how long do I want to store this cookie, you know? This is kind of useful to check. So how long I want to store it. So expires days. So let's write it then. So there is additional argument which says expires in, let's say 365, so 1 year. And then we could also define the path. So path means that in which the URLs this cookie is valid. So in which routes of URLs this will work. There is also, without that, there is also a domain as well, possible to add, like in that this will work only in localhost. And actually the browsers are also very picky. They will not really help to store cookies which are not tied to the specific domain. So if I add it like this, let's see, I just want to check that if it works. So okay, there is something did not work. The form submit did not catch. Okay, maybe I did not refresh it. Okay, so, oh no, but there is a bug. I guess that's why it crashed. Maybe I should, so to avoid bugs, maybe I should add event prevent default as a first thing that happens. So I will just quickly fix some of if there is some bug there. Yeah, so there is a bug. The strip function does not exist. Strip is not a function. This is strange. This is strange. So let me check what's happening there. Console log why this did not exist. Let me check. So I could actually add breakpoint and see what's happening inside here. So I'm adding the breakpoint because this is strange. It should not happen like that. So I'm submitting. So there is the so if I add with the breakpoint here, remove all variables. So this should be a string. This should be a string, which it is a string, and strip function should be there, or maybe trim. No, a trim? Yeah, sorry, not strip but trim. So yeah, in JavaScript it is trim. In Python it is strip. So here should be not that one but trim. Trim. Sorry, not strip but trim. So that's one thing that did not work correctly. So then let's look what's happening next there. So I will stop it, run it again. Okay, so the high score. Okay, what's happening? So the debugger acted out really strange. Try again. Just a second. I really don't. We don't have that much to do here before we can do some like planning for the homework, and then I will definitely respond to all of the questions. Sorry for being delayed on that. So there is this thing works good. Then the parsing works good. So this part is good. Then adding the scores. So this part again looks good. High scores, good. Stringifying high scores should work, which works, right? So this works, and the high scores also work. So everything works here. Okay, so now we can, by the way, the prevent default as a first thing, maybe it's a good idea, because if there is a bug, then at least you see the bug before the form gets redirected to some non-existing server, right? So, so this is what we have here, except I should add here console log high scores. I could also log it directly as soon as we read it. Okay, I don't know. High scores, get, it is there, da da da. High scores. Okay, anyways, so I will try out this. Inspect. Console. Oh man, something is still not works. Okay, I think I broke it somewhere in the sense that I stored something not good. So if you also stored in your cookie something which is not good, you can just add here version 2, you know, like high scores version 2 here. And now probably my cookie will be better. Yeah, so now it works. Yeah, so now it really nicely works. So the last thing what I wanted to show you is that every time when I refresh my game, I want that my cookies are there. So maybe we could make some kind of small function here. So function get high scores. So and this function will be really simple function. This will just use these two lines and return it because I will need to use it multiple times. Return high scores. And then I want to set it here as well. So let high scores, or maybe we can just console log get high scores. So you will see every time when you refresh the browser, you will still have the same high scores. So you can get it here, and also you can get it high scores here when you submit the scores. So that's about it like this. Yeah, I think like that. So this will be fine. So I will add these lines to the Jamboard. So there is missing the sorting of the scores and a few other things, but in generally everything else is here. So I'm adding this to the Jamboard. So this will be in slide number 5. So I will check also chat. So and now I will demonstrate how it works. So now I refresh the game. You see, when I refresh my browser, I already have 3 high scores recorded. So and then if I adding new high score here, pressing submit, I'm getting the 4th added here. And then again, if I pressing Control R, refreshing the browser, all of the 4 high scores still lives there. You see? So I have a structure which is serialized and which is stored in a cookie inside the browser. So and then I can store my high scores, and every time when I refresh the browser, because after the game ends, the easiest way to just reset the game is just to refresh the browser, right? So and then we can get the score, right? So maybe the last few things, just to help you out to actually make this workable. So the last few things is that you go up here. If you go up here and you then, just the last few things before the homework, so is that we can by default set, so this is the place where the style directly makes sense. So I would set style here, the display none. So I don't want to show this overlay by default. So I want to show the game by default, not the overlay. So the overlay is hidden now. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I see. So the overlay is hidden. So I say display style display overlay none. So because this setting will change a lot. So that's why this is okay to add it as a style here. So I will add also this to the Jamboard just in a second. So this will be added. So I'm just helping you out to actually implement that. You can enter the high scores, but you will need to yourself in home to make to make some display to show all of the high scores. Now we're just entering the high score, but we need to also display it somehow. So this is that part. So now the game, we need to remove our hack. So is game running? So this should be true again. So is game running should be true. So let's add also again this part to the Jamboard. So to remove the hack that I added previously. And so is game running true? Again, if you want to develop, not want, but when you will develop the high score board, right, with the displaying of the elements on the board, then in that case you should basically again make this false so that the game is frozen, right? So that part is then done. Then the last thing is we should add some kind of code to initialize the high scores, right? So we could add some function maybe down below here. So function, let's add it not here, maybe here. So function. So again, really important to understand where to write functions. You cannot write functions anywhere you want. So basically, you see there is a script tag, and I'm writing just inside the first tab here, which means that I'm not writing function inside the function. So I'm writing it just in the script tag. So that's why it's very important. So here we'll write show high score. So this will be a function, show high scores. And here we will select the overlay. And we'll use the CSS, this modifier, display block. You can also use just dot show, basically. Dot show, this is exactly the same thing. So display block, this will show the high score, right? So I will add this also to the Jamboard so you know what to add. So that part. And then we need to use this function. So we will use this function in the places where we end the game, right? So the alert game ended. So instead of alert, we could just add this guy here. And basically, when you enter the high score, you could then just refresh the browser, right? So high score, show high score here. And also when all of the aliens are dead, which is here. Show high score here. So basically in those two places, I will also drop those two places to the Jamboard. In the slide number 7. And that's that will be it for today, and you will need to make sure yourself that the version that you will submit as a homework will actually display the high scores, and they will be ordered by the highest value in top, you know. Just display top 10 high scores for the game after you enter the high score, or if your score is below the maximum, below the top 10, right, then you should not actually allow to enter the high score, right? So let me check if everything works. So now if I'm trying to share the screen, so you see then I'm shooting and I will try to lose game now. Okay, so I lost 1 life, I lost 2nd life, and now I will lose the 3rd life. Boom, lost the game. Oh no, game ended. Why it did not show? Okay, there's something did not refresh. Why it did not refresh? Game ended. Okay, I added somewhere in the wrong place. I guess the shows. Okay, show high score should be also added in the collision code. So here, I guess three places, unfortunately. Maybe you should make it simpler. So show high score here. Also here in the collision code, where there was end of the game. So I will add also that part. Okay, so that is added, hopefully. And the game itself, let me see. So what happens? So I'm losing 1 life, second life. Oh no, I want to lose all of the lives. Okay, yes. So now I get the high score screen here. My score right now is 0 because I did not shoot any aliens. Then I enter my high score, submit the score, and now after I submit the score, I should actually show all of the scores that are there, top 10, right, in ordered manner. And I also then need to refresh the browser. So that is your homework till the next time. And I also will review the previous homework and send you back notes one by one. So sorry that I was not able to do this live today, because you see we already had a large amount of material to cover. So let's meet next week. We'll see how well we done, and then we will move on to the server side as well a little bit. So that's it for today. Let's